What's up there, Bears fans?
Hello, lady. What's
Ladies
up?
and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Tailgate Show.
We all got them now,
I'm gonna
fellas.
We got entrances, we got wipes, we got star wipes, we got anything you could think of. B Diddy coming in hot. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
What's up, y'all?
Yo, would it be a what's up?
What's going on? Jared looked like he's ready, like half McMahon, half aerobics.
Oh,
What's
hell
going on,
yeah.
man? You know what I mean? He's ready.
Ready. I'm ready to brawl.
Look like we're ready to tailgate, man.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely
we're ready for a tailgate. Dun.
do my fucking.
Fuck yeah. So what's
Got
up,
your logo,
guys?
You got your logo centered, man.
It's-
One's left, one's right, one's center.
Hey,
that's
Someone's
right.
got to
Well, that's,
fucking bring you idiots in.
that's all of us. That's it. We got to figure it out. they planned it just right for us. All right, cool. So we got a nice episode for you today. We're going to talk about a few things. Going to preview it a little bit here. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the CBA. Kind of go over some of that, not get too technical because obviously we are not technical. We're just fans, so we're not going to try to lecture you like we're lawyers or player reps or anything. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Derek Carr and the rumors and the troll job and all the stuff that went on this week on Twitter. The Bears did sign a tight end of sorts. We're looking forward to the combine, and then we're going to kick it around a little bit for some talk about if we should pick up another running back, perhaps a veteran running back. Look at some of the free agent running backs that are available on the pickup wire here as free agency approaches very quickly. And of course, don't forget there were two major cuts from the Bears roster this week. Prince Amukamara and Taylor Gabriel were both cut, so we're going to talk about that. And so should the Bears pick up a free agent wide receiver, free agent cornerback, or is that going to be stuff that's addressed in the draft or on the roster? And then we're going to talk a little bit about probably the second most polarizing member of the Bears, Leonard Floyd. So that should be pretty interesting. And then Jer is going to bring us a new segment we're calling the Battle Hawk Beat. XFL.
Caw-caw!
Caw-caw! And then last but not least, some news and notes, including Greg Robinson and 157 pounds of weed. So,
Jealous.
yeah.
we're doing a new Jared segment, though, man. Jared, if you want to rep your team, you got to chug a hard vodka. What is? No, I'm sorry, a hard seltzer, hard vodka. Jeez.
All right, we'll get to that. So first off the bat, I actually want to start. I think we should start with the biggest news, which is not the CBA, but it is actually the cuts that happened. Prince Amukamara and Taylor Gabriel. We've been talking about it. Everybody's been talking about it. It is not some insider information. Don't believe the hype on Twitter or blogs or anywhere else that somebody told you some super secret information months ago. It was pretty obvious. Prince Amukamara's salary number, Taylor Gabriel's salary number, the situation with their contracts, the situation with their play this season. Taylor Gabriel obviously spent a lot of time on I don't know if he actually went to injured reserve much, but he just was inactive quite a bit with concussions. So, yeah, well, I mean, what do we think? What do we think about those cuts, guys?
Well, I think with Prince, you definitely create a hole because you got Robertson, who's from the CFL, who's never played an NFL game, and Tolliver. Those aren't, unless we get some serious depth up front to create a lot more pressure than we did last year. Until we know anything different, they're a liability. You know what I mean? I like Tolliver. I don't know if maybe he's ready to take that next step, but it definitely creates a hole at outside corner. And with Gabriel, man, that was my dude. So, like, I know when he wasn't, there were availability issues, but when he was available, in my mind, he was our second best receiver. He was a consistent deep threat. I mean, it kind of opens some questioning on our wide receiver depth too, because who's going to step in and be that second guy? You got Wims, Ridley, Miller, who he's going to miss a second OTA and potentially minicamp. So that creates questions too, in a sense. I understand the cap savings by letting them go, but we definitely, that second receiver, we don't have any definitive answers.
I agree. I think by the release of Gabriel, you've taken one of your speed option out of the equation, which to me is kind of alarming because if you look at the Kansas City offense, it's very dependent on that speed guy that goes deep. Now, was he battling the concussions? Yes. Was Mitch able to hit him ever? Not in 2018, 2019 he wasn't. It didn't seem like. He had the 3-touchdown game against the Redskins, and he had the big bust out against Tampa Bay last year, and Miami. He had some really good games, not last year, but the year prior. It's going to be a real bummer. I don't know who's going to take that spot. I don't know that we have anybody on the roster that takes that speed.
I mean, I failed to mention Patterson's there too, but
what are you going to get out of him? He's an older guy, though, too. He's not
exactly.
He's not
I'm
young.
just naming the names on the roster, man.
Prince, a personal, as much as Gabriel was your guy, it was a Prince and Pony show. So Prince had a great first half of the season, I thought. And then injuries started catching up with him. And he got burned a couple times, and it was very noticeable. I don't know that Tolliver's your answer. I think he showed enough in some of the games where his coverage was pretty good. But, like we've said with coverage all the time, it's very dependent on the pass rush in front of you. If you can get a consistent rush, that will make your corners better and your safeties better. So if I had to pick somebody on the roster right now to take that spot, it would be Tolliver. And then you still have the kid from Kansas State behind him. So
yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that I think we're gonna miss is their energy and their leadership. Taylor Gabriel was a really high energy guy, and I think they'll definitely miss him. I wanted him to work out. I mean, I really thought that was a good signing. I was excited about that signing. I think at the end of the day, it's because Mitch can't get him the ball that he didn't have more production. He was, him and Miller were the two most frequently overthrown guys out there. I mean, and Taylor Gabriel would often have to make circus catches or dive. And he had some amazing highlight plays. I mean, let's not pretend that the Bears as a franchise have any kind of history of highlight deep throws, like, period. They don't. Taylor Gabriel has some of the greatest deep catches in Bears history. I mean, that catch against Minnesota, that deep ball against Miami, Trubisky to Gabriel. The game in the Redskins. I mean, when can you think of a time where a Bears receiver scored that many touchdowns in that short of a period of time? I mean, this is rarefied air.
Three touchdowns against the Redskins was like a franchise record, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he had a big game. Whenever Mitch had a big game, pretty much Taylor Gabriel had a big game. I mean, let's be honest.
He was wide open a lot too, and not even looked at.
Wide open. I mean, just not even seen. Mitch just can't hit smaller guys. It's just what it is. So it's unfortunate. I mean, I think that if he hadn't have had the concussions, I don't know if we'd be talking about him getting cut over $4.5 million. I think when you factor in the lack of production and the concussions, then, it made the decision easier. Now, as far as Prince, I think, he was a guy that had a lot of injury issues with New York. But then he kind of got over them and he became, one of the leaders of the defense. And he was the player rep for the union, really, smart guy, well-spoken guy, really respected in the locker room, veteran guy. And I think Tolliver is a nice player. Don't get me wrong. I think that Tolliver is going to go down as a really solid pickup for an undrafted free agent. I mean, he was a guy that people expected to be drafted. But so now we're kind of looking at piecemealing stuff together between Duke Shelley and him, and maybe I mean, I don't know. I don't know who this Roberson guy. We don't. He's a completely unknown commodity.
He is,
Um,
but Prince's game dropped off a little bit too. So I mean,
it
he was
did,
getting burnt, you know.
and he's 31 years old, and corners. I mean, you could look at Josh Norman, who just got cut. Was about to make $15 million. 32 years old. His production, went off the table precipitously.
Mitch managed to make sure he got a little bit of a payday, though.
Yeah, right.
He managed to hit him right in the numbers.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, there's some guys out there. I would look at, maybe a guy like Trey Waynes. He might get paid though. He could get $10 million. I don't know. He got
beat a lot in Minnesota.
He did. But I'm just saying, like you could. I mean, people talk that shit about Buster Screen, and I think Buster Screen, when he was on a good defense, showed that he could be something. There's a few other guys out there.
I don't think Shelley's going to be the backup on the outside, though. I know, Jerry, you're saying that, but I don't know if he's ready for all that.
No, I wonder. I don't know that he is either. But
I mean, we don't know what he is. I mean, he's a complete
backup
commodity.
He's the backup nickel.
Right, but like I just the depth is not there. There's a couple other guys. Bashad Breeland from Kansas City. I don't know if they're going to let him go, but he's a guy that you might look at. Tremaine Brock is out there. I don't think that they are going to be able to just plug in a corner from the draft. I think initially what you're going to have is you're going to have them going with Tolliver, but I would hope
take
that
this if you want.
I would hope that they would pick up a guy in the same way that they picked up Screen, and someone who's a veteran, somebody who is steady, because if Tolliver goes sideways, which sometimes corners do, what are we going to do?
Well, we only have two safeties under contract too. So what you do is you re-sign Ha, put him outside corner, right, and then you bring in Eric Barry to put next to EJX. Done.
That's a lot of money, though. Don't you think that? I mean, Ha.
I'm just hot taking it, dude.
No, I agree. I just worry about that money.
It's a full hot box.
I mean, I would think Haha's going to want. You tell Haha he's going to play outside corner. He's going to want even more money than he would want. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not the craziest idea I've ever heard. I mean, but you only have 2 safeties under contract right now, so it's interesting. I mean,
this is a deep draft for cornerback and wide receiver too, so
it is, but
still, there's a jump, man. There's a jump from college to the NFL. We've seen it. I mean, some guys don't make that jump.
I mean,
if any franchise knows that, ours does.
You just don't see rookie corners necessarily come in and kill it. Like, it's usually like a second year type of a thing, maybe even it takes even longer.
Think about Charles Tillman. Here's a prime example. His rookie year, very decent in coverage, got a lot of pass interference calls against him till about middle of the season after. Like about week 9, 10, 11, the PI stopped and the coverage was really tight, and it takes a while. I mean, you're asking a kid to develop quickly. Peanut was different. Happy birthday, Peanut, by the way. Happy birthday to you, my friend.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, and it's not like I think that I think that the weaknesses in the backfield, as we've talked about many times, have to do with the weaknesses up the middle. So if Akeem Hicks is healthy and we're generating pass rush, maybe it's not as important, I guess, would be the,
we're also going to find out more about how Pace's decisions pan out, because you got Wims, Ridley, and Miller there going to be fighting for the second spot unless we bring somebody else in. So those are all Pace guys. Another opportunity to see if this guy knows how to draft offense. Because, I mean, Miller, don't get me wrong, Miller's last year, the season before, was really good. he's just been inconsistent, and for some reason the coaching staff, which kind of bothers me, doesn't want to let a kid like this that could be anybody covering him just get open and simplify his routes. Instead, it's all about timing.
It's all about
I mean?
Quarterback play, though.
Well, no, we've heard how precise the routes need to be, though, in this offense. That was something Furry ended up saying, and I think with Miller, let him get open.
Sure. Exactly.
It's all a bunch of
it's all about
smoke
Mitch.
and mirrors.
It's all about Mitch not being able to trust these guys because he doesn't trust what he sees because he doesn't know what he fucking sees.
But a lot of the excuses were Miller was running the wrong route. We heard that from the coaching staff.
Yeah, and that was him getting thrown on the bus. Like a better quarterback still hits him because he's open. Like I know it's not the exact route.
I agree.
But you're telling me that every time Allen Robinson caught the ball, it was the exact route he was supposed to run? Probably.
Well, the coach,
I'll give him the benefit of
stubborn
the
with
doubt.
the young guys, though. Really didn't see the field much at all. And we heard what a great route runner he was.
I think that's been a major failure. I mean, we've talked about that on this show, that I think Furry should be in question. But, he's a Nagy's boy from the Arena Football League or whatever, so... I mean, he basically, gets a pass, I guess. But I think the development of the receivers hasn't been good at all. I mean,
I have to agree.
I think Wims went backwards last year too, and Ridley was a no-show until he had one play.
Anthony Miller was, considering the shoulder.
Exactly, and I'm very, very, very concerned about him. I mean, it's a second injury, and now he's going to be coming back, and what are we going to have, and how long is it going to take him to come back? And this, that, and the other. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, we went from thinking that we had this nails receiving core to it being really full of question marks. So the question is just like, who do we look into?
We should have brought in Grow, man, when he got fired from the Eagles.
Yeah.
I actually did like the work he did here as a receiver coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Indy scooped him up.
He was responsible for some of the best wide receiver seasons of all time for the Bears, which again is not like some lofty list. I mean,
I like them.
But it's regardless. I mean, he was responsible for it. So, I mean, you're getting to the point now where it's a little bit dicey because you now need. I mean, let's say that they don't go with a corner, okay, but you definitely have to sign a safety. I mean, I don't think you're going to go just re-sign, DeAndre Houston, Carson, and Michael Bush and call that a day. I don't think that's a good plan. Even though that's two cheap guys. I mean, you're talking about guys that were making $700,000 last year. I still wouldn't feel that great about that. So you've got to go out and get a safety. I like, the kid from Oakland or Las Vegas, however, Carl Joseph.
He's a stud.
He's 26.
Wasn't he a Bengal at one point, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know.
Why do I keep thinking that he was? I don't know. I think all kinds of weird things.
Yeah,
I'll do the lookup on that.
I mean, Spot Track has his market value as $6 million a year. So there's that. You need a tight end. You need a right guard.
There's a lot of needs all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, remember when we used to just be like, "Oh, the 53 is set." Like,
you think about the receiver. Think about last year when we had the receiver cores that came in. We had the kid. He ended up at Detroit.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name, but he was a speed guy. We thought, wow, he's going to blow up.
Do anything for Detroit?
No,
but yeah.
We got some holes to fill now. You got the two safeties under contract. You need some depth there. Wide receiver, right guard, quarterback, tight end, edge depth. Like,
right.
Pace can be busy, man.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I know he's not a guy that people love, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Eli Apple brought in. Just because there's a high level.
Like a veteran minimum.
No, I mean for $3 million. I mean he was making only about $3 million last year. So
Gabriel.
He's only
pay him almost the same money as Gabriel.
Do you think there's a chance that they bring him back on a team friendly deal?
Ooh.
Taylor Gabriel.
No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I think he ends up on the Niners probably
I
this
think
week.
like Eli Apple, as crazy as it sounds, is only 25 years old. So it's. I mean, there's worse signings. I mean, I don't think anybody was that excited about Prince Amukamara when he came in. I mean, he was not.
I mean, they could start working, being that they're cut now, right?
Yeah,
working deals.
They can start talking. I don't think they can officially negotiate anything.
The whole thing is you can't. It's hard to negotiate multi-year deals whenever you don't have a CBA in place. So a lot of players are probably not in a rush to sign a
Olsen
multi-year
got
deal.
released
Right.
and signed his deal.
For 1 year, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
well,
is
I mean,
smart.
Prince, he's not going to sign a multi-year deal now.
I don't know.
He might.
He might get a couple of years.
People are already talking about Denver.
Yeah, everybody's going to Denver. Quit's going to Denver. Everybody's going to Denver.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Kwiatkowski maybe. I mean, but you never know. I mean, I don't know if the Chiefs let Bashaud Breeland go, which they probably won't because he's kind of a hero of last season. But you never know. They might have to franchise tag Jones. So
I'd like to see him bring in Kendall Fuller. Have the Fuller brothers putting some work.
I don't think Fuller's a free agent though. Oh no, he is. No,
Yeah.
he is. You're right. Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. He's only 25.
He's gonna get money though. Super Bowl champ. Those guys coming off free agency, they always get overpaid.
Maybe he was only making $780 last year. I mean, I think if he gets a $2.5 million contract, like I think he's gonna be pretty good with that. You know what I mean? Like 3 years, $8 million, something like that. I don't know. It's just a lot of holes. It's kind of wild. Jerry, you did bring up the CBA.
To play alongside his brother making like 9.
His brother's been to a
brother
Pro
makes
Bowl.
more than that. I think his brother makes like 12 or 13.
He's a multi-year Pro Bowler.
Yes, all pro even.
So
Get a Pro Bowl, man. Alternate.
He's an all pro. He's not
Yeah.
just a Pro Bowler. That's different. A big difference.
So yeah, the CBA, that's the big monster in the room as to the free agency market, I think.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, the CBA.
How much does it affect this year, though? I think it's next year, right?
Yeah,
it
but
affects this year because you have to know what's going on for the following years for how you structure deals.
How you structure, yeah.
Yeah, and if there's going to be extensions, how that's affected. And now the biggest things that were talked about with the CBA, one is adding 7th playoff team on each side, which I think everybody is probably okay with. I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? I'm okay with it.
I don't like when they mess with things, man. I just like the things the way they are. Like,
but they've always messed with things.
It's a money grab.
Yeah, but the teams getting into the playoffs. I mean, like, unless like Vic Fangio had mentioned, just get rid of divisions, which I think is wicked extreme, but that would make sense at that point.
Well, my thing is this is that you have every year you've got some 10-6 teams that don't make the playoffs, and I think that would eliminate this. Number one.
Would Lovie Smith had been fired.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about, that's the big thing that came out. They went, of course, people go back and look at the last CBA. So if the last CBA, which was 2011, was this rule, we would have had a Bears playoff team at 8-8 in 2011 and a Bears playoff team in 2012 at 10-6. So a lot of things could have changed. Now, I think the biggest thing is that does Jerry Angelo get fired? And I think that was I'm stealing that, I think, from Hogue and Johns, because I didn't really think of that either. And that's the bigger thing, because I think Lovey still might get fired because of Emery. Now, how much does the franchise change if Angelo doesn't get fired?
Lovey had issues, though, bringing in the right offensive coordinators, man. I mean, that was the biggest thing with him. That side of the ball was just neglected.
I mean, I think a lot of people shit on Angelo unnecessarily. I think we went through it when we first started the show.
He made the ultimate sacrifice, and it didn't work out, man.
Well, that and You know,
Cutler.
how
Cutler was
many
his undoing.
All Pros and potential Hall of Famers did he draft? I mean, he's responsible for Urlacher, correct?
Yeah.
And then you got Urlacher, Briggs, Peanut.
He's got Alshon.
I mean, Alshon.
Yep. Mike Brown.
Forte.
Mike Brown.
Forte.
I mean,
no, I mean, the guy I don't think was that.
Give
terrible.
me anything from the current GM.
I would.
Yeah,
right.
but if Angelo's so great, where is he now?
I agree, but I'm just saying, I think a lot of people take a lot of unnecessary shots at him because he helped build.
I just don't know why a rule change makes us go that far back in time to try to retro shit in our mind.
It doesn't. It's just conversation. It's just Twitter fodder. I mean, it doesn't really do that. But I mean, you think about those things. I mean, my thing is like, why not? You have more playoff games, more playoffs, more better. I mean, absolutely. Like,
I'm still kind of torn with that though. I mean, 8-8 teams, should they really be getting in?
They're getting in now. Like, they're getting in now.
As a wild card, not as a division champion.
Plus, at the end of the year,
there's only going to be one bye on each side.
Right. So at that second team, what are they going to be playing for? Like the last week of the season is going to kind of
home field. They play for home field. That's what they're playing for. They play for home field. And I mean, you're just, I don't know. To me, it's like more football. Like, why not? And you have there are going to be some teams that, like I said, 10-6 teams miss the playoffs because certain divisions are so bad, and that's not going to happen now. So I don't know. From that side of things, that's the first big one. I'm okay with it. Seems like you guys are on the fence. I've heard different things on it, but for the most part, from what I hear, the owners and the players are on the same page on that issue. They're okay with it. The next one that's huge is the 17th game. Now, the 17th game, I believe, could not be put in until, I think, 2021.
They have to expand rosters.
Yeah, there'll be some expansion of rosters. There's a huge question marks to me on that. It's like, how do you figure this out? I mean, you have a team that has 9 home games one year and then 8 the next year. Are they all neutral site games? And basically, what you're now doing is expanding it to 19 weeks of football. So it's definitely problematic. They're taking away a preseason
also
game.
When we get into this, there's a percentage rate that's going around that's going to be a big part of it too. But go ahead. Sorry.
Right. Well, so the 17th game obviously is something that the players do not want. The owners do want it. The preseason has been extremely devalued. It's not good product, and nobody gives a crap about it. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's playing their players in the preseason anymore. So basically, the owners are like, we want to make more money. Give us a 17th game. But the issue would be is that the 17th game would be a $250,000 payment for those players, much like that's how playoff games work. Now there are bonuses and things like that for winning playoff games, but basically they don't get their normal salary. So if you have Allen Robinson making $15 million a year and he's basically making $1 million a game, then you're asking him to play a 17th game for $250,000. Well, he's not going to be into that. You know what I mean? So that's an issue. I just don't know how they're going to do the schedule. I mean, that's my biggest thing is it's like, how many, where are these games going to be? They're going to play more games in London. They're going to play Toronto. They're going to play Mexico City. They're going to play, I don't know. I think eventually they're hoping for there to be 18 games. And I just feel like that's too much. I mean, you have 18 games plus an extra round of playoffs. You're going to be playing football basically from, they're going to have to start the season like in August. Otherwise, the Super Bowl's going to be, in freaking March. So
yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. You gotta factor in the quality of the product too. And if you're
right
with all these changes, they're also talking about having only a 2.5 hour limit on padded full speed practices. and limiting time at the facility preseason, and like everything's shortening on that end. So what's going to happen is your first couple of weeks are just going to be not that great because guys aren't going to be
and that's already
in the shape they're used to, right? But then also the health of the players. By the time the playoffs roll around, now you have these teams that are going to be beat up. It's just you got to factor all that in.
And what do you think is going to happen in Week 17 when you have two teams that are like, that have won 4 games or 5 games each? You think anybody's going to be playing? I mean, seriously, like it's so I don't know. I mean, here's the thing about some of it is that you're talking about a huge amount of money. So basically, this is they're basically getting an increase in total percentage from 47 to 48.5% of the revenue. And over the life of the deal, that works out to like $5 billion. So it's a huge amount of money going to the players. And
that's just 1.5% of the NFL's total net worth.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's a percentage too. So it could be more. I mean, it's not like it's capped.
I think eventually it's going to end up forcing these guys that are playing like Frank Gore, older veterans that are still playing. You're like, wow, they're still doing it. Once they start seeing this extended season, it's definitely going to make them question whether or not they're coming back a little harder.
Well, and if you're a player, don't you think you would want 50-50? I mean, that's what they want. The owners are just saying, here, we'll give you 1.5%, which is considerably more. Let's not get it twisted.
Right.
But it's not. It doesn't give you equal footing at the bargaining table.
Right. Well, and the other thing that when I was listening to Pat McAfee talking about this, which he did a great job talking about it with Tom Pelissero, who's been all over this, and a lot of what we're talking about comes directly from his reporting with NFL.com, and it's like, I mean, and Pat brought this up, which I think is really smart, is you're talking about 1,700 players versus 32 owners. So it's $5 billion for 1.5%. Well, it's split 32 ways or split 1,700 ways. And it's obviously not evenly split because not everybody makes the same amount of money. The thing that I think that's going to probably maybe even get this deal passed is that you're talking about substantial raises for the rank and file guys. I mean, if you're already making $15-20 million, it's not that much money for you.
But it's ironic that the rank and file guys are the ones out here beating the drum saying, do not, we will not sign this. This is not.
Some of them are, some of them aren't. I mean, you saw Jamal Adams come out and be like, yeah, it looks good to me. And then he got snapped on,
because he's not been through a negotiation. He's
right. But I'm saying when the door closes and, they're sitting there going, well, I'm making $750,000 this year, and next year you're going to tell me I'm going to make $1 million or something like that.
There's some decent gains in for the retired guys too, though.
Right. I mean, like one of my favorite things about this is this creation of a 4-year player benefit of up to additional $1.25 million salary excluded from the cap for up to 2 players. So if you've been in the league for 4 years, it's almost like in the NBA where they have a veteran exception or a mid-level exception.
Kind of like what we did with Zach Miller.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So here you go. An attaboy.
Well, no. But this is for a player. This is for like a real player. Like that you can, that doesn't affect your cap. So you could bring in a veteran player who's vested in the league and pay him, a veteran's minimum, if you will, and add him to your team, and it's not going to affect your cap. That's cool. Now, I wish, they have to expand the rosters. I feel like 53 is not enough, and having only whatever it is, 46 active also, doesn't make any sense because you need, I mean, if you're going to have 17 games and another playoff game, you need more guys. I mean, there just needs to be more guys. I mean, you see how these teams get decimated by injuries. So I think that's pretty interesting. I like
the THC rollbacks, man. Narrow the THC test from 2 months to 2 weeks at the start of camp.
And the penalties are much less.
You can't get suspended for a game.
Right. They also are taking away Goodell's kind of ultimate power over things. which is good. Ultimately, it would all just be through arbitration. He wouldn't have this like kind of czar power that he has. And then there's also raises for practice squad players. The other big thing that I think is that's going to affect the Bears is the change for the fifth-year option. So basically, with the fifth-year option, you're going to have to decide a lot earlier, and it's going to become fully guaranteed. And they would need to decide, much sooner. So the fifth-year option fully guaranteed for fourth and fifth year at the time the option is exercised. Amount of option dependent on player achievement and no longer based on slot selected in first round. So
it's available for all.
Right. And
if you
so
want to exercise. But so I wonder, will that affect like your signing, how you've got your pay slotted? Will that affect the pay that's slotted for the oncoming rookies?
I don't know. I don't think that's gonna change, but I'm not sure.
That would be an interesting question. I would like to get answered, because if you're a fifth rounder and they're like, oh, well, we're going to exercise your rights, you're going to get screwed by the team. And then that's going to lead to holdouts, and then that's going to lead to, especially if you outperform your contract, it's going to fuck it all up.
But I think the biggest thing that does, especially for the Bears, is there's no way that you could pick up the option on Mitch if you were thinking about it.
Oh, God, no.
If you're basically saying that you pick up the option like now, or in May when we're supposed to decide, and
why would you even think about it anyway?
You wouldn't, and I hope that they don't, and I hope that they're not going to, and I think there's a fairly slim chance that they do, but the reason that they might would just be on the off chance that he blows up, and then they could rescind it. You know what I mean? Like if he has like a Tannehill type of resurgence, and then all of a sudden
it's like we heard Leonard Floyd. They offered his fifth year immediately after the season. There was no question.
Right.
Now will they rescind it? Yeah, it's still on the table.
Right. Well, they were hoping that he would emerge opposite Khalil Mack, and then he would be a bargain because pass rushers are getting 15, 16, 17 million dollars a year, so 13 would have been.
Nobody said Leonard Floyd was a pass rusher.
No,
nobody is accusing him of that.
No, they definitely aren't. But it'll be interesting that the vote has been postponed. The owners approved it, but not unanimously, which is interesting. And some people remarked who didn't approve this. So it's being tabled. They have agreed to extend the franchise tag and the transition tags and some of that, so that allows people to work. And then obviously, this would be something that could cause a lockout for 2021. I mean, 2020 is not in danger.
It's good that they're even talking about it, that both sides are meeting this early, and they see what's in front of them, and they want to make sure that they're ahead of it.
Yeah. Which
I hope they are. It's just egos and money will be involved. Yeah. And here we go with another cutaway. Here we go.
Oh. All right. Anyway, so interesting. Obviously, we don't know all the details, ins and outs of it. I personally think if I was going to bet, I would bet that if they put it to a player vote this season, it's going to squeak by and the players are going to take it. And it may be a bad deal, but it's not as bad as the deal of last time. The last CBA is widely regarded as a really terrible deal. And some people are saying, it's put them in a bad position now because they took 47%. And so, where
the changes they're talking about making, though, it might not be done anytime soon.
It could be, but I'm just saying, like, you got 1,500 players and only the top guys are really worried about it. The rest of them are going, shit, we're about to get paid. Like, let's get this money. Let's keep our jobs. And at the end of the day, as was brought up on Pat McAfee, the league really does try to make sure that these guys are interchangeable, that the fans are fans of the team, not fans of the players, like they are in the NBA. or to some degree the way they are in baseball, where you don't care, and you do have that in the NFL. Players change teams and they don't, it doesn't necessarily, you don't follow it, but it's starting to change. I mean, I think guys are, kids are fans of Patrick Mahomes or, they're not necessarily. Yeah, right. So that's going on. I think they obviously want to get it done before free agency opens. If it doesn't get done before free agency opens, they're probably going to wait. I mean, honestly, we probably won't have any more talk about it throughout the season.
Like I said, still promising that the conversation is happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could be deadlocked and calling each other names.
Going on the arbitration and shit.
Yeah, poopy heads.
Speaking of Mitch Trubisky, we can't go any more than about 5 minutes without talking about him in any form on Twitter or podcasts or what have you. Derek Carr posted earlier this week. He posted a picture of himself from the London game with his boy, one of his best friends in life, Khalil Mack, and it was a great picture. And then his brother put underneath it #megapowers, and of course everybody
that thing took off, man.
Yeah.
ESPN was even talking about it.
People because it's just Instagram, obviously people freak out about that stuff. People send in subliminal messages, not so subliminal messages, and listen, I mean, I was like, yes, please God, please, for the love of crap, somehow get this guy here.
Stan Marsh in front of the computer like, oh
yeah, man. I mean, it's just like, that would be so absolutely amazing. And when you start to look at it, it's not that crazy. I mean, the guy really is not getting paid that much money when you compare it to the other salaries out there. I don't think he costs that much. But of course, some people were like, you can't trade a second round pick for him. You can't do this.
I heard like a reputable reporter podcast talking about, he could come in and back up Trubisky. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's insanity.
Come on, man.
Carr, I mean, we're talking about a guy in Derek Carr that was number 2 in completion percentage last year. He had a 100.9 quarterback rating. He threw for 4,054 yards. Like, this is a top 10 to 12 quarterback. He's a good quarterback. I don't know why people are so down on him. I know Raider fans are pretty down on him, because
I asked a few Raider fans what they thought. That was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, he's very polarizing.
It sounds similar to how we feel about Mitch, but with more reason.
Shittier stuff.
I'm just saying, like, he when things are going perfect, this is the Raider fans stuff I've heard. Like, when things are going perfect, he's fine. When plays break down, he's not. He doesn't win as much as he should, and if he's a franchise guy, why aren't we winning more? You know what I mean?
Well, you also look at that and go, he's never played with a defense better than 20th ranked in the league.
And his offensive weapons have not been exactly spark plugs. I mean, you had Mari Cooper. I think we talked about this on the last pod. I mean, he's doing this with one tight end.
He had like 6-round picks,
a decent running back and running game. But it's really about it. Give me that guy. You know what I'm saying? And let's do it that way.
He can use a decent tight end too, and I don't know if there's one on this roster, so.
Right. I mean, I don't think anybody thought that Waller was going to blow up. I mean, he got decent numbers out of an old ass Jordy Nelson.
You watch Carr play though, and imagine him in this offense. He does have a quick release. He's confident. He can throw the ball over the field.
He can do everything this offense would need. He's
athletic enough too. Yes.
He's young. You be talking about 3 to 4 years of real live professional quarterback play.
And he's six seasons in, right? So like in Nagy's mind, you wonder if he sees him as another Alex Smith thing, where like he's a veteran that could read defenses, but he's actually been better than Alex Smith was in San Francisco.
Right. And,
you know what I mean?
He's completing 70%, over 70% of his passes. So, I mean, the knock that Raiders fans will tell you is that he checks down too much. But you know what? He hits the fucking check down. Like, Mitch, I don't think you can even give him the that he says that he checks down.
Does he get to the check down in his reading of his defense?
He'll check down, I guess, but it's to Tariq, and Tariq gets hit immediately or runs out of bounds for 0 yards. I mean, it's just not like Bears fans have been so shithouse crazy on Twitter, defending Mitch. I mean, that you really look at a guy like Derek Carr and be like, no, I don't want this guy. Like, are you crazy?
We don't have to say go dive deep into the tape and all this crap. Watch this highlight video and look at the things that he can do that Mitch can't. Like, anybody listening, go watch the Carr highlight stuff on YouTube. You don't have to dig deep into the tape. Just look at what he can do. Imagine him in this offense. I would love it, man. I like him. I like he plays with fire, man.
I'm personally like lighting candles and like holding out like crazy hope that this somehow happens. I mean, if you could put a 2nd-round pick, the one that the Raiders gave us in the Khalil Mack deal, and end up basically for 2 first-rounders, a 2nd, or 2 first-rounders, a 3rd, and a 6th, and you end up with Khalil Mack and David Carr, or Derek Carr. What? That's insane. Like, that's a franchise-changing trade. I mean, and people are like, no, we'd never do that. It's like, yeah, well, nobody thought we'd trade for Jay Cutler either. Like, if you're sitting here going, what would be a better trade? 2 first-rounders for Jay Cutler or 1 2nd-rounder for Derek Carr? It's not even a fucking discussion. Like, it's just not even a discussion. Like, get this guy here. It would be franchise altering. I don't care what happens to Mitch. Mitch can be the backup. Mitch can park cars for all I care. It's not even that much money. I mean, it's $16 million. I wouldn't even be opposed to extending.
Because they have to eat a couple million of it, right?
They have to eat 5. They have to eat 5, but they save a lot of money by getting rid of him. And then the guaranteed money is all spent. So if you didn't extend him, you didn't do anything with him, you can cut him next season and walk away from it.
It's cheaper than Mitch's 5th year.
Absolutely.
That's all you need to know. Like
I can't imagine like what crack is being smoked where Bears fans actually say, oh yeah, I'd rather see Mitch give another shot than let Derek Carr do it. Like, and then the whole, he can't play in the cold shit comes out, and it's like, good Lord, like, come on. Because Mr. Trubisky is Mr. Freeze. Like, give me a break.
I went back and found out what, like, just for shits and giggles, Mayock had to say about him back in the coming out of the draft. He said he's more athletic than people think. A lot of teams thought he was the best pure passer in the draft. I love the way this kid throws the football. And then when he was asked to evaluate him when he took over as GM, he said he could spin it with anyone. That's the key for arm strength to athletic ability. He's as good as anybody out there.
I think the things that Gruden doesn't like about him is that he's safe. He's probably too safe. It would be the one knock you could give. It's like, okay.
It's skills here, though, man. He gets the ball. He would get the ball to the playmakers. I mean, he's never had a receiver like Allen Robinson. I know Amari Cooper is decent, but
he would turn Anthony Miller into a virtual Pro Bowler. Anthony Miller would have 1,000-yard season with Derek Carr. No problem. No problem. He almost had one with Mitch. I mean,
he doesn't.
7 touchdowns and 600-something yards. Like, I don't know. He
knows how to place the ball where you're giving your receiver a chance to extend the play too.
Exactly.
Guys aren't having to go turn around because the ball is being thrown too short. Like,
I don't know. So I don't know if it would ever happen, but I just please.
I think you work out great with Nagy, man.
8-ounce baby Jesus, please bring us Derek Carr too. Both of them can come.
Pause.
That's what she said.
Yeah, right. And even as bad as our offensive line is, people say, well, we don't have any tight end, we don't have no offensive line.
He has a quick release.
Yeah, Derek Carr in his best seasons got sacked 50-something times.
He's not Helen Keller in the defense.
I'm just saying.
He can read it.
He's decisive, and he has a quick release. That helps your O-line.
Like, you cannot in the same breath say that Mitch was bad because of the tight end and the offensive line, and then say that we would bring in a Pro Bowl level quarterback and say that he can't be good because of that. Like, it doesn't this doesn't work. Like I'm sorry. Like,
Well,
not
him more than Mitch can make people around him better.
right. Not every quarterback has a great offensive line and tight end. In fact, most of them don't. So, like, people need to just get off of it with that.
There's
so
some
anyway,
good ones in the draft, though, man. I know that generally,
yeah,
like, first-year guys don't blow up at the tight end position. There's a learning curve there, but there's some really good tight end talent.
speaking of tight ends, that brings us to our next topic, Demetrius Harris. Breaker of my rule that I have set forth, no ex-Browns, but he's more an ex-Chief than he is an ex-Brown, so let's call a spade a spade. He is a guy that played 0 college football. He played college basketball at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. He's big guy, big frame.
6'7", 230.
Yeah. He played inline and the move tight end. Mostly inline. He's a pretty good blocker. He's got
good Y and that good U.
Yeah, he's got some stats. I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot of money. Great. Awesome. You know, maybe this kicks Shaheen finally out the door. He's clearly an upgrade over every. I mean, I think maybe it was Patrick Finley said he's already the best healthy tight end on the roster.
We had more production than anybody on our roster last year. He was also, I don't know how they
nearly had as much production as the tight ends on our roster last year.
Right, combined.
As cherry picking as this is, he was in the top 10 for blocking tight ends, so that's a positive too. He had some versatility and depth, and he understands the system. So I'm fine with it. It's not like we broke the bank with the guy.
It's good, and of course you got people. Oh, that's all we're doing at tight end. Blah blah blah. Well, meanwhile, Greg Olsen. Right, Greg Olsen got $7 million from the Seahawks. And sorry, Greg, we love you.
I like Greg, man, but no.
Not paying you $7 million.
I think it's a better fit for him, too.
Absolutely. I mean, Russell Wilson's made Jacob Hollister into somebody. I mean, Greg Olsen's going to do fine there. I'm not worried.
Getting paid, though, unfortunately, and it's not like you can get rid of him. You're going to take the hit anyway.
No, exactly. You can't. I mean, you would save like $1.5 million by cutting Burton. They're not going to do that.
So you can find somebody like dumb enough to trade him.
I think unfortunately the next 2 cuts are probably tight ends. They're probably Shaheen and Broniker, because that would be like almost another $4 million. And I'm not a proponent of cutting.
Maybe
Broniker.
we get Broniker on then.
You know, yeah, you know that we love Broniker on this show.
Dickhead.
we love Broniker on this show. Always bet on Broniker. You know, solid player, just hasn't gotten.
We don't love him as much as Sidney Golick does, but
no, but that's fine. Pause. We don't want to love him as much as maybe Jared does.
Settle down.
Let's keep the ginger unicorn abides. So, anyway, I think that's the next couple of cuts that are coming. We do have the combine upcoming.
I'm not going to be able to make that, I don't think.
Well, here's what's crazy is that it's all at night. Not only that, it's all at night. They were saying that people, you know, it's going to be interesting, you know, and even it's silly stuff. But Hogan Johns were saying like it's going to be weird because it's used to be kind of like the Senior Bowl where everybody gets together during the day, does a thing, and then they all go out and, you know, hobnob and you know,
be able to drink your seltzers at night.
Yeah, you'd be able to drink your delicious manly seltzers, like the men of the XFL.
Real men drink seltzers.
Yeah. So, but now it's going to be prime time, which I think is going to be interesting for a couple reasons. One, I think there might be even a little more pressure on some of the guys knowing that it's in prime time, and then. You know, so who knows what? Because this is when all the real negotiations start to happen with these teams. You know, for the free agency. This is when Brady's going to be, you know, working the phones, and you know, or vice versa. They're going to be figuring stuff out. So
yeah, a lot of networking goes on, and that, I mean, I don't know how much the drills. I know some of these guys that it might entice people to go to their pro day, but like I don't really think there's too much stock put into the actual combine workouts anymore.
I mean, you see it every year though, where guys wow at the combine and they get drafted.
Yeah, I just don't. I think they have a pretty good idea of where these guys are at, and with watching all the studying them all year. And
right. I mean, you're not gonna see you're not seeing like Brian Bosworth type of stuff happen again, you know. But
it's more of a money maker than anything, I think.
Yes, it's a dog and pony show, and you know.
Oh.
But I think it's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and I do think that some guys can screw up their draft a little bit by what happens at the combine, because you know there's interviews that go on there, and then there's some some of like the 3-cone and some of these things like that people do put some stock in. I mean, if you follow that RAS mumbo jumbo, combination of stats that people put together to rate players out of the combine, there might be some stock in it. But yeah, Jerry, you've been, I think some people from the Brawl Network are going to be going, so keep your eye out for that. There should be some good shows and maybe live broadcasts if they can, outside there, some interviews. So keep your eye on that.
It'd be awesome. Get it hit the Periscope straight off of it.
Right.
It's easy
exactly.
to do.
The other thing I think we'll skip ahead a little bit is we're talking about cuts and salary. I think your next biggest albatross is the $13.5 million of one Leonard Floyd.
You didn't even mention the pace and Nagy presser from the combine, how hard-hitting that's going to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hope they're announcing Derek Carr.
It's the same kind of softness you're going to get with what we're talking about right now.
Oh, yeah. Downey should pick him up.
Like Floyd, I mean, there are like Floyd stands, Raul, Bennington, that are just like unbelievable.
He sets the edge. Even his long arms just being in the backfield make a difference.
Yeah, like the things that Floyd supposedly does are like these things that only the most trained football eye can really tell you. It's like, I don't know. I seem to see a guy who never gets home, is happy to just hang out and
be blocked,
quote unquote, set the edge and be blocked by a tight end. And, it's like, okay, great. Yeah, he doesn't have bad gap discipline, but you know what he's also not going to do is ever make a big fucking play.
He makes them covers like a safety, I guess people are saying. His coverage is unbelievable.
But then, I mean, I'm not a guy to like quote PFF grades, but his coverage isn't good. I mean, it's something
I'm not saying it is. That's just one of the
it's crazy the amount of ways that people are coming up to convince us that Floyd is a good player.
Bigger loss, Kwiatkowski or Leonard Floyd, in your eyes?
Well, Floyd right now, because who's replacing him?
That is the one thing I will say about Floyd. So the quick answer to that, Jared, actually I think would be Floyd, even though I just spent the last 5 minutes slandering.
There's no contingency plan right now for him.
Right. We are so thin if we lose Quit, chances are we're keeping Danny or we have KPL.
I would say that you put Quit on that outside.
Man,
I agree.
He's not good at coverage, right?
Why don't they try that? But here's the thing: is that the outside linebacker, the edge, the 5-tech, whatever you want to call it, shouldn't be in coverage.
I mean, they have to play some. You have to play some.
Yeah, they do.
For him to be an edge in a 3-4, I don't know. I could see him being an outside linebacker in a 4-3.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see it. Is all I'm saying. I'd like to see him get moved around a little more. And
let's not exactly. We give Leonard Floyd some shit, right? We have. I mean, obviously he has coverage skills. He was good enough at coverage that they put him on the inside at Georgia his junior year, I think.
Right.
Because they were so depleted, they had to put him in on the inside, and he played well. Right. His sack stats were down, and those stats seem to have followed him all the way to Chicago.
Well, the fact of the matter is this
get a fucking sack, dude. Yeah. There, I said it.
Well, the thing is, when are you going to step up more than when you have Khalil Mack opposite you getting so much attention? That's my only downside with that's my only thing with Floyd. Like,
thank you.
We drafted him high. We expected him to be this elite pass rusher. You got one of the best that does it across from
Or-
you, commanding double and triple coverage at times.
Or
This is
put
when
your hands up. You're tall as fuck. Block a pass.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
just saying you're not going to get doubled up as
something.
much. When are you gonna? If you're not going to succeed when
That's
freaking
possible.
Khalil Mack is opposite you, when are you going to?
I don't know, but the thing that this is the way it has to go with Floyd, and I'm not advocating just straight up cutting him. Although there are a lot of people out there on the free agent market that are, that could replace him. I mean, I know it's like very, in vogue to hate Vic Beasley, but there are guys with 7-8 sacks that weren't exactly playing opposite Khalil Mack
I think
that
Vic
are
Beasley
available.
step up. Yeah,
Like,
I like
set
Vic
an
Beasley.
edge, destroy the edge. There is no edge if you destroy it on a rush.
right, exactly. Like, get in the backfield.
So before
Like
they all
you
flip out and be like, I'm shutting this off. I get what you're saying, but collapse the pocket. If you have it collapsing on two sides and you force the quarterback to step up into, who did they step up into? Hicks, Goldman.
right.
And insert next guy.
Yeah,
It's
I
just-
just like I don't know. Like I just don't see it. Like
I'm gonna grab a pillow. I'm gonna name it Leonard Floyd.
I mean, I'm not saying he couldn't come out and be more consistent and more dominant. He may. I would give him more of a chance than Trubisky panning out.
I mean, look at these guys. These are guys that I would, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an asshole. But these are guys that I would take. Yeah, I know
wrong.
that. But these are guys I would take. I would take a look at over Leonard Floyd. Robert Quinn,
Mm,
maybe.
outside line.
He's 30 years old, but I think he's still got some left in the tank. What about Leonard Williams from the Giants? He's only 26. He's got some ability. His market value is $8.2 million. Vic Beasley, obviously we just talked about. Jason Pierre-Paul.
No,
I mean, you could have Jason Pierre-Paul for very little.
Get your
I
discount.
think you should look at Jason Pierre-Paul to replace Aaron Lynch.
or just do the fireworks in Chicago.
Right.
JPP was productive last year, with probably several less flags than Aaron Lynch.
Exactly. I mean, there's some guys out there. I mean, I'm just saying. Let's sign Floyd to a 3-year, $35 million deal. Maybe he can get the cap hit down for this season. I still think he has a lot. He has a high ceiling. I don't think
he has the toolbox. He just doesn't have the key to unlock it.
Right, exactly. I mean, we were told that he has the best pass rushing tools on the team.
Better than Mac.
Yes, that's what we were told. Every fucking year, somebody comes out in front of us and says, "This is Floyd's year," and it's never his fucking year.
But he has. I mean, he is talented enough that if you ever got that drive to be a little physical, okay, he can make it happen.
You got. I mean, I don't know if he's a true end, but Eric Armstead. I mean, shit. You take that $13 million and you can pick up a Leonard Williams and an Eric Armstead and a Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, good Lord. Like,
it's a good rotation.
Yes, it's insane.
And then you actually, Snacks Harrison's out there for the up front too. You could actually throw him in there too.
He's elite though. That would change everything.
That's right. Snacks Harrison's better than
Khalil Mack. Yeah, remember that?
Oh, that's right.
Garbage.
That's fine. Yeah.
My bad.
I don't know. So I don't think Floyd's leaving, but I'm really getting tired of people telling me he's some fucking amazing player. And they're gonna have to figure out.
I was asking people. I was like, "Did you buy his jersey or something? Like, why are you defending this dude?"
Yeah, I mean, but listen, he looks great in a uniform. Pause. He's but he is not Javon Curse. He's not who they thought they were.
He's not Jason Taylor.
No,
that's what they've been trying to sell us, that he's Jason Taylor.
It's another.
It would be another indictment on Pace, though. Floyd ain't that guy, and then Mitch ain't that guy.
It already is. It already is an indictment on Pace. He's a guy he traded up for. He's the 8th overall pick.
The Giants because they were nervous the Giants were going to take
good. Yeah, he's just not that good, man. Like, he's just not that fucking good. So, I don't know. I put out there, I posited that I'd like to see them pick up a veteran running back. I wouldn't mind seeing, somebody like a Frank.
Look at who's available. I saw you said that, but I'm like,
I mean, there's a few guys. There's, you have obviously the big names like Henry and Gordon. We're not necessarily getting those, but Carlos Hyde, I think he might get paid, but you never know. He had a good season. Lamar Miller, Kenyon Drake. Some of these guys, I wouldn't mind seeing a Frank Gore. Bears fans have talked about. Go ahead.
How about Jordan Howard?
Right, Bears fans have talked
Elite.
about that. Yes, elite. I mean, is that? Do you think that Jordan Howard's pride would preclude that?
It would depend on how the front office dealt with it and how he dealt with the front office. Sometimes not all breaks are good. Some breaks are bad. And there would have to be some pride swallowed on both ends. We've also seen that that's right.
But you got Matt Breida out there. They have to pick up another running back. And I guess they could do it from the draft, but I feel like that hasn't exactly been working out so hot either.
Kareem Hunt, is he a free agent?
Good Lord, no thanks. He can't stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Did you see the whole thing where he got arrested and there was all that video again? Like, he cannot stay out of trouble.
I haven't seen that, man. I don't follow the guy.
No, he already has had more problems. He's already got issues. He's out there. Let's see. We got Isaiah Crowell. I was kind of interested before he missed the whole season due to injury.
Mode.
Yeah, beast mode. I don't know.
Protect your chickens.
Your chicken.
Pro size. ND baby.
Yeah, pro size. I don't know. I mean, there's some guys out there. I'd like to see them try to get a veteran. Darren Sproles, 37 years old.
He's
Spencer Ware.
He retire. Yeah, we've already done the whole Chiefs.
I wonder how much that's going to play into free agency, familiarity with the offense and with the coaching staff, with the signing of the tight end. That to me signaled that familiarity is a big part of what's going on with this coaching staff early on. That it's going to be a big signing point. If you know the offense already and can half-ass do it, you're going to have a chance to get signed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
Even a guy like
the veteran running back wasn't something I was actually thinking about because I thought they were getting rid of Mike Davis to keep the guys they have was kind of their thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I just don't see who. I think you need another running back. I mean, that's why they hired Mike. That's why they signed Mike Davis. Ryan Nall is definitely not it. I mean, we lost what's his face to the Steelers. White. Yeah, so I don't see anybody else out there. But I mean, I just have Jordan Howard's still only 25 years old. I just don't see it. I don't think they're going to admit that mistake and bring him back.
For a team that talks about not having any pride, it's time to get real with yourselves and practice what you preach. You need it if it's a move that's going to make the team better, and that's including moving on from Mitch.
Yeah,
moving on from all of your first round busts.
Well, and Pace and Nagy talk about we don't have pride. We come in to do this together. Well, Pace, if you don't have pride, man, stop being so faithful to the guys you drafted if they're not panning out. Because we've seen stubbornness from this guy before. Trubisky.
Yeah.
This is an offseason to find out if this guy actually practices what he preaches.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I think we know the answer is that Pace is extremely prideful and stubborn.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if he really foresaw when everybody's going back to that presser saying Mitch is our starter. That's fine, end of the year presser, right? But I don't know if
because he's the only one under contract.
Right, he is at that point. Yeah,
I understand but
right.
This is a historic offseason for quarterback rumored trades,
right.
Quarterback availability. If you're ever gonna have a situation where you want to actually use the free agency to improve a position at quarterback, this is the season.
Do you
So,
think
like,
they run? Do you think there's a possibility they run it back and tank for next year's draft?
you can't tank with this defense.
Yeah, you can't tank with this defense. No,
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
This isn't a tank line.
No,
We're not
I
built
don't.
to tank.
The answer is no. I think that they have to realize that they're coaching for their jobs right now.
Now, if they actually Celio for some reason actually knows what the hell he's talking about, which he doesn't. If they were to trade Mack and start making moves like that, then they're tanking.
Right.
I just
but they're
don't see
not.
it.
They're not going to do that. Mack is still the face of the
No.
franchise. But what I would say is this: is that I think that everybody can keep their jobs if they go 9-7, 10-6, even if they don't make the playoffs with that. I think. But if they go 4-12, I think heads are going to roll. Like, I don't know who it's going to be, but I just don't see them sticking around much longer. And Pace just has to ask himself, does he want him and his buddy Nagy's career to be tied to Mitch? I mean, when you could tie it to a much more known commodity in one of these guys, I mean,
I'd rather tie it to the back end of a truck and let me be drugged through the city.
yeah. I mean, that sounds way
Sorry,
better.
but
It sounds way better. I mean,
it's way less painful.
It literally gives me stomach pains to think about watching Mitch Trubisky play quarterback next
I mean,
season.
you got by with it his first year because there wasn't any tape on him. As soon as they got tape on him, it's changed.
And then there was a quarterback who was bagging groceries and then became a Hall of Fame quarterback, which is like 1 in a million shot. And Kurt Warner, who had some positive things to say, and everybody levitated towards it.
Everybody wants to, trot out these Drew Brees numbers. It's like
everybody likes to smell their own farts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, Mitch was not good in 2018. He had flashes. He was worse in 2019. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and he had a few flashes. That's it. There's nothing else to be said. He's 41 starts in. He's not that good.
But I think the fan base is less patient than they are. I think they, for some reason.
Well, we're fans, of course. We're less patient.
But they are, and I don't necessarily want a GM that is super knee jerk, whatever. But at the same time, like if I think everybody's worst fear would be that he has a decent season and somehow kind of replicates 2018, and then they decide to sign him to,
I still want Mitch to be great if he's our starter. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I hope I'm wrong, man.
Right.
Like, let's ball out. Let's do it. But
I'm never gonna root against whoever is playing.
No, I don't want to see the kid fail if he's our starter.
No,
I want to see him succeed. But this is just if you got names like Brady, Breeze, Rivers, Carr potentially, like
Cam Newton. I mean Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah,
I don't love Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton was actually worse in some ways than Mitch.
Yeah, I don't see that, man. I get the laser connection.
Mariota, Tannehill, I mean, even Case Keenum.
I would like to see Mariota get a second shot somewhere.
Yeah, I think he may. I just don't know. I just have a hard time envisioning Mitch playing quarterback for this team and it not being a painful experience. Like, I just think he's so far around the bend with this organization that I just don't see him getting out of his own way. Like, he's mentally just kind of
I get
shot.
the injured season. The left shoulder was messed up. I get that. But there wasn't even, like, I didn't see any signs of maturity, really, man.
No.
Like, that's my biggest knock on Mitch. Like,
right.
We were expecting that step forward, and he was reading defenses in the offseason.
Yeah, but mentally he got worse at running the RPOs. Yes. This is a system that's supposed to be for stupid quarterbacks.
And Nagy had to dumb things down to a level that was just like almost high school.
Right, and it's like, and I'm sorry you want to keep telling me, he's got to roll out, Fine, roll him out, and he's going to get killed. Like,
well, no, they need to go back to the Fox and Dow offense, and that's the only way you can succeed. I think pretty much is what Kyle Long said, and then you're basically turning your back on why you brought this guy in.
Right, and that's what Kyle Long basically thinks he was drafted for that, and it's like, no, that's not what, because Pace wanted Fox out of here.
In college,
right? He ran spread.
Yes.
Like, it's not what he was drafted for. A lot of people thought he was a whole lot better than he is.
We saw
And
Nagy
I lit your prayer
scheming guys
candles back
open,
there.
man.
Thank you.
Everybody wants
Carr prayer candle is lit.
Well, everybody wants to go to reference the all 22 when they're trying to push their bullshit. But like, you go back and watch all 22, all these film junkies, and look how many times receivers were open. And this kid just can't go through his reads.
In 2018, Nagy was the coach of the year and was lauded by everybody at how well he schemed guys open. Right?
Oh, he was like a mad scientist.
Now something changed in 2019. Now guys weren't open. Is that right?
It's amazing that Anthony Miller wasn't running the wrong routes when he led the team in touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
Shocking.
As a rookie.
We're talking about Trubisky, right?
Yep.
There we go.
Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
We're going to talk about this guy. Let's get hammered.
I mean, well, you talk about Anthony Miller, that's, one of the last things I'll bring up is, like, is there a free agent receiver out there that you would be interested in?
I don't even know who's on the market.
Yeah, man, I've only been looking at, like, the tight ends.
Like,
of course,
you've got.
Of course, you have.
It's not a lot. I mean, I'll be real honest with you. It is not a lot. I mean, you've got. I mean, this is the list. AJ Green, expensive. Manuel Sanders.
Is he though? He spent a whole season injured.
Well, whatever. He made $15 million, and he's 30.
Injured in Cincinnati.
Right. Agreed. So I don't know. I mean, maybe AJ Green you could get cheap. I don't know. Somehow
Marcus Robinson from the Chiefs, but he's had some injury stuff.
Somehow somebody paid Devin Funchess $10 million.
Wow.
I don't know. Paul Richardson just got cut. People were talking about him. I don't want him.
Taylor Gabriel.
Yeah. Trubisky to Gabriel.
Carr to Gabriel.
Randall Cobb. I mean, Amari Cooper is probably going to go back to Dallas. Going to get big money.
Is he? There's going to be some money issues in Dallas, I think.
Oh, sure there are.
If they sign Dak to the big contract, I think that pretty much hammers their...
Right. Well, they're going to have to get creative. I mean, they're going to have to get creative. That's all. But, yeah, there's not a lot of receivers out there, man.
No. So I would say no.
Like... Yeah, I mean, I would look.
Still fast, still goes deep, catches the ball occasionally. Used very occasionally.
It's rough. I mean, there's a lot of receivers in this draft. I think we're going to be drafting receivers again. But I mean, look at the free agent receiver market is brutal. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really bad.
It's basically the battle for AJ Green and whoever wants him.
Yeah. I mean, you would have thought maybe Nelson Aguilar would have been, but he can't catch the ball anymore.
Geronimo Allison.
He's kind of rough. I mean, I don't know. He's at injury.
You can't catch patches from Aaron Rodgers, then.
Yeah. Like, although, surprisingly, Aaron Rodgers had a lot of bad throws last year. I mean, he's really kind of fallen off. I mean, I'm talking about Robbie Anderson. That name was thrown out there on Twitter. He's supposedly going to get. Yeah, that name's been thrown out there. I mean, when you are, you're the third receiver with the kind of number one and number two that they have, you're going to end up with some yards. I mean, I don't know. It's rough. So I think, the answer is that they are not going to sign a free agent wide receiver. I think they're going to go with Wims and Ridley, and they're going to draft one possibly in the second round because the way that it looks like it's going to fall, there's going to be a first round talent wide receiver available at our slot. I think.
Pause,
that big slot. Anthony
Miller was wildly considered as a first round talent, and
kind of hope we draft a good tight end. Just saying, Bryson Hopkins, Hunter Bryant, my guy Albert.
Hopkins from Purdue is pretty good. He's an athletic dude.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of limited at what you saw with his production because the quarterback was inconsistent, but I like him. He makes receiver moves like when he catches, he's trying to advance. Like, you know what I mean? Right away. Like he has pretty good instincts.
You want to watch a good highlight game? Watch him versus IU in the bucket game. He had a hell of a ball game.
Well, I think anybody's gonna blow up against IU personally, but
the only knocks I heard against Hopkins is his blocking.
You want to see some highlight tape? Watch somebody play IU.
Shit. Unless you Northwestern or the other 7 teams that they smoked.
Yeah, Northwestern.
Speaking of, we were talking about Carr's Instagram, man. Alex Bars and Quentin Nelson were hanging out at Madison Square.
Love that.
Yeah. Bars, man. Hook that up. Bring Q to town.
No, that's lineman code, bro.
I know. I'm just saying when his contract's up, I'd love to see Q here.
Yeah, or just maybe, can we draft a first-round offensive lineman, please?
Not this year.
No.
Not happening this year.
Yeah, so that's that. Next up, speaking of exciting football, it's time to talk about the Battlehawks. St. Louis Battlehawks. XFL. Have they lost a game yet?
Yeah, they lost.
All right.
And he's gone.
And Diddy's clucked out.
They lost last week. But this week they came out and put an ass whooping on New York, 29-9.
That's right. And they
had
did
your first XFL kick return ever for a touchdown.
Woo!
Joe Powell. I like what they're doing. I mean, I like what they're doing, man. I like the kick return stuff. I love it. That was on a pitch where the end comes around, he gets the pitch, and he almost got caught. But he didn't.
Matt Nagy could come up with some plays if that kickoff rule came around. There'd be like
we're gonna have 4 end rounds.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that nobody's done yet. But in the XFL, you can do a double forward pass.
Right. That's
I don't think you can do it on the kickoff. But I mean, 29,554 people.
Good for St. Louis to show out and to tell the Gronky sucks chant was loud and proud.
Yep.
That was what a lot of that was about. Is a big F you to Gronky.
Oh yeah.
Which I am here.
They should never lost their team. Like,
hell no.
That was
a good sports town. I mean, I know it's not the biggest city, but that's a great sports town. All you have to do is put a good product out there.
Absolutely.
Even the Cardinals, whenever they were bad, they still managed to pretty much sell.
I mean, I give St. Louis crap, but they're diehard sports fans.
They filled half a stadium, and they're saying "F you, Gronky." That really showed them.
No, it didn't show them, but it showed them that
there's a fan base.
It's still a sentiment, and the reason that the Rams left had nothing to do with attendance.
Right.
I mean, it just has to do with market size and greed. And what did they get out of it?
Had problems keeping a team. This Arizona team was originally in St. Louis, and then
right,
which I don't understand. I mean, they had the new stadium, and the dome is still very serviceable.
St. Louis is just not that big of a city. Doesn't have the tax base. Doesn't have the market share. Competes with fans from the Chiefs. Competes with fans from the Bears, Chicago. I think.
Andy. It's the reason I hated seeing them go when the Rams left. The reason I hated it is because it took a 4-hour drive to an NFL game away from me. It's
right.
I can go catch the Bears if they're there. Or
how far are you from Nashville?
2.5.
The thing that the NFL fails at is.
You said it took a 4.5 hour. It's a 4-hour drive from you, but
it was prior to Nashville having a team, man.
Right. This was when they were the Oilers. Yeah. But the thing that the NFL fails at is that the cities are still put over a barrel for these stadiums.
Yes.
And the NFL just keeps making more and more and more money, and then you still are requiring taxpayers to pay for these stadiums, and it's a fucking joke. Like it's.
Here's the question I'm going to ask you: if you don't think they have the financial base, how does the team? And I'm just going to ask: how does a team like Buffalo have a team?
got a strong. They got a pretty strong owner with a lot of money, man.
But the Rams have rings. Tell me that didn't create a
yeah, but the
just
Rams
bad
have been
ownership.
back. The Rams have been that team that have been back from LA to St. Louis. It's different, man. Buffalo's always been there.
Anyway,
it's bad ownership.
But that team's gone back and forth a couple times.
I agree. I'm saying the Rams had bad ownership. Pittsburgh is not a huge market. Like, there's tons of places that make it just fine, and do well. St. Louis should be one of those places. They went out for another LA money grab. I mean, and obviously, it was a team that had been transient to begin with. I mean,
state of Pennsylvania, though, football's big, man. Like,
football's not big in Missouri.
I'm just saying, like, the Steelers are different. Like, you guys are bringing up teams that are just, it's different. There's ties to that
but
city.
They got the Battlehawks, and that's a fan. That's a group of people that were very happy to see a football team.
It's good for them. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched any XFL football this weekend because I didn't.
I actually recorded it.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
It was like record.
I'm glad that people are watching it.
Names, man. Christine Michael.
You know what? Like, if freaking the Masked Singer and The Voice and all these million other crappy things can get ratings, like, why can't the XFL? I mean, I think they
my kids like the Masked Singer, man.
Right. I mean, they got it. Like, I mean, I think I told you, my kid made me change to Ninja Warrior when I was watching XFL last week, so I get it. But they've got to get some better quarterbacks. I think the Battlehawks have a pretty good one.
Don't get me wrong. If I was a young single dude, I'd probably be watching it.
From Seattle, got Matt Jones, that used to be a Redskin, that had a pretty good stint there. And let's be honest with you, you're talking about free agent running backs. You might see one or two picked up out of the XFL for the regular season.
You might see this PJ Walker guy get a look as a backup. You might see Cardell Jones get a look as a backup.
I hope it works, man. My whole thing is, like,
I think the CBA that you're talking about that could limit your preseason games, this could be a reason for the XFL to survive.
I think this was in the works. So they were talking about this before the XFL started. The expansion.
I know, but I'm just saying you could basically the one thing
the money
to
they're
kind of
bringing
full circle it. Your XFL is going to give you live reps for young players that the new CBA is not going to give them.
If they can get to the point where they're paying the players more and they get a higher caliber of player, then it'll work out. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it'll work out. As long as they keep playing in small arenas and they don't try to, they don't get too big for their
crazy with it. Yeah.
But NFL will make more money off the combine than the XFL make all season.
Agreed, but that doesn't mean there's not a spot for it. You're talking about the juggernaut of juggernauts. I mean, that's like saying Amazon makes so much money, so don't open a store in a neighborhood that needs a store. Like, it's
I
there's
just don't have the time to get into it, man.
I don't either, but people are getting into it. I mean, for the hardcore,
it's got a strong Twitter following.
For the gamblers, for the hardcores, for the people, they're
people
they're
that
into
want to
it.
extend their fantasy season. I guess
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
People that want to watch football instead of watching shitty basketball and no baseball.
Man, going back.
Right. Now we could argue about travel. On Twitter. I will never defend James Harden again in my life. Good Lord.
Dude, my like, not to get off subject much, but like, I appreciate it. No, MJ was one of the best ever, man. But I wasn't a Bulls fan, so I'll just come out and say it. You complain about Harden traveling. They had the Jordan rules for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, that dude could take 5 steps, but he earned it.
Jordan rules was about fouls. It wasn't about travel.
I just don't understand the hatred for this guy. I guess he's not on your team, so I get the hatred. But, like, it's just, you can't appreciate greatness.
Here's the thing about that is that the NBA changed the way that they call traveling. They allow the Euro step to happen. They've actually always allowed it.
He's perfected it.
Since it's been basically what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to gather the ball, and until you touch it with both hands and 1 foot comes down or 2 feet, They don't start counting steps. So it's like a third step. It looks like a third step. It's not a third step. The guy
does it quick too.
Changed. And people like freak out. That's a travel. That's a travel. It's like, I know, from PE class to, when we're little kids, we're taught 1, 2 travel. I get it. But the thing that kind of makes me crazy is it's like basketball used to be played by like white guys shooting set shots who couldn't dribble. They wouldn't allow you to put your hand on the side of the ball. There was no 3-pointers. There was no dunks. There was basically, like, basketball was like so different back in the in the 50s and 60s, and now it's changing again, and people just can't allow it. Like, they just can't allow their brain. This isn't fucking Hoosiers. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
We're gonna run the picket fence at them, boys. Don't get caught watching the paint dry.
Right. Like, there's no like 5 passes before you shoot. Like, I mean, it's just like, it's crazy to me, and people will refuse, even if you show them the printed rule book, like how it works. No, that's a travel. That's a travel on the playground. It's a travel. It's like, it's not a travel. It's not a fucking travel.
Well, Harden in particular, people are just looking. They're like ready just to hop on anything.
Because he has epitomized the things that people don't like about where the game has gone. The Euro stepping, the flopping at contact, the drawing fouls, the step back threes that people feel are questionable in terms of, but they're all part of the game. You know what I mean? Like, they're all part of the game. Luka Doncic is doing all of it, by the way, and more, and is not getting any hate. Dude is like,
they love him.
Like,
White
it's
as
like
can be.
yeah, exactly. Kind of interesting, right? Isn't a black guy, doesn't have a big scary beard, doesn't, it's
West
like,
Alabama.
yeah, it's like,
I would get it if Harden had this like persona where he was a punk to everybody. He was not even a bad dude. Like,
no,
It's
that's it. I will never. I had to mute that conversation because I just kept like, I mean, it got a lot of people who were like, cool, good, but I even tagged the guy, one of the guys, B-Ball Breakdown, that does like all this stuff that's just like shows people actually how basketball works, because he had already put up a thing about it. And it's just like, I mean, it's still going. I had to mute it. I don't even know. I go back to it every now and then. I'm just like, good Lord.
You know how to piss people off.
Yeah, I have an ability. The other thing I will mention real quickly is that, how about that fight?
Oh,
how about
let me lick your ear?
Freaking that was a, like, good Lord, that guy Tyson Fury is a living monster. Like, did you watch the fight? Did he?
Nah, I saw the call at the end. I'm like, I don't know. It's too bad for boxing, because with the UFC just kind of dominating them, it would have been nice to see a knockout.
I think you're about to see that change a little bit.
It wasn't a bad fight. It wasn't a bad fight.
People are posting links and saying, watch this fight. And everybody's like, watch this fight. You know what I'm saying? When's the last time it was like that for Mayweather and
UFC
anybody?
is doing that, but it's over in 10 seconds. That's the problem.
That's why you got Periscope.
Right. But that's the problem, is that boxing, it still goes a while. I mean, this is a 7 round
undercards.
fight.
That's the thing with UFC. You get a bunch of decent fights. And they're quick.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's room for both of it. It's like,
I agree.
I hope they bring boxing. I love boxing, man. I'm not a big. I don't like UFC. I like boxing better, and I've been waiting for it to make a comeback. But
one of the things
we're of an age that we are old enough that we remember boxing being on network television.
Right.
It wasn't pay-per-view. You got to watch, like, they would have the pay-per-view occasionally, and then they'd run it the next day.
Right. ESPN and Fox
still would be calling it. And
ESPN still shows boxing, but
yeah, definitely.
But the reason that boxing won't ever get back to that, and boxing actually does very well, it just doesn't do well in the ways that we think it does. Boxing is still huge in the gambling world. Boxing, a lot of people are making a lot of money off of boxing. It's just not all one big entity, and every single state has their own governing bodies, and there's only a few people that run it. And it's not like, if there was ever like an NFL of boxing or an NBA, then it would take off. But I just thought it was a fascinating fight. I mean, these are two like monsters. Basically, you have, Tyson Fury, who's just like a monster, but he's actually a pretty good fighter. And you know, then you got a guy who really is not a very good fighter, but has this amazing ability to knock people out.
Knock a hater out.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got that eraser, you know, of a right hand that you know can do damage. And when it was, I was listening on my home and then talking to Teddy Atlas, and Teddy Atlas was basically saying that you know, Wilder screwed himself because he gained weight, and a lot of people were talking about the weight difference being so high, but he thinks that because I guess Wilder gained like 20 pounds from the last fight. And he thinks that he screwed himself by gaining that weight because he thinks he looks slow from the get-go. And then, you know, Tyson Fury hit his ear and his equilibrium was screwed after that.
It was done. It was done enough that the corner said no more.
Yeah, I mean, I think they made the right call because he was hurt. But
he went down on a body punch too.
I just don't remember until for quite a while a heavyweight fight being that interesting.
God,
you know,
not having that. Having that
the British guy. What was his name?
Lennox Lewis.
Lennox Lewis. That was probably kind of got everybody going. But you
Lewis
gotta go back. I think you got to go back for the casual fan to be some Tyson Holyfield.
Yeah, right. That's where you got it. I mean, there were some other.
I was a big Roy Jones Jr. fan, and when he stepped up to heavyweight to fight Ruiz, I thought that was pretty dope. Yeah. But I was a Roy Jones Jr. fan.
I'm super casual when it comes to boxing, so I'm sure people are gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" But I'm saying like that's what you need. Boxing needs is for the casual fan to stop what they're doing.
You gotta hype it up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to buy it on pay-per-view. There's a million free streams. I didn't buy it. You know, there's a million free streams you can get. Plenty of people bought it. Plenty of people made money. But it was just interesting. I mean, it was interesting. The guy's freaking licking the blood off the other guy's neck. I mean, it's, you know, it was wild. So, you know, interesting. You know, it's the offseason.
Fury got in his head early and often. Yeah. I mean, every time Wilder would duck, you notice he kind of did one of these with his head where he put him in kind of a little headlock, and then he'd be like, let him go, and then he'd let him go. And
I think Mayweather McGregor had more of an impact on boxing, though. I mean, that you could say what you want, man, but I'm talking about
that was a bad fight.
That was Mayweather getting paid and just waiting.
I'm talking about a fight everybody wanted to watch. You guys were talking about that.
Agreed. I think that was very good, but that was not good for boxing because that was a bad boxing match.
All right, you knew who was going to win.
I just feel like.
Did you watch Canelo Triple G?
Yeah, that's a pretty good fight.
Those were some great fights, too.
Mm-hmm. Those are pretty good fights. I just feel like that, you know, they're not going to get. Boxing's not going to come back until there's some kind of governing body that unifies the belts, gets people to fight. I mean, they have to get these people to fight. Like, you need to set these fights up. They take so long. They hem and haw. You know, there's so many different people trying to get paid that they never happen.
There's like a 30-day on this fight. There's a 30-day rematch clause that has to be.
Right.
And you can guarantee that's coming.
Why not? I mean, I know it's a draw and kind of a one-sided fight, but people would watch it again.
The first fight really wasn't a draw. I think Fury beat him, but Wilder got a late knockdown. And
I mean, you never know if Wilder doesn't get hit in the ear like that. Maybe this fight's different. He might get off I mean, he did get knocked down twice, but it was kind of not real knockdown. So
this is why you love the tailgate, right? This is why we chose the name The Tailgate.
I heard people talking saying it wasn't a great fight at all. I didn't watch it. I wasn't trying to pay $80.
It was brutally just fists flying. I mean, they didn't really stand toe to toe a whole lot.
They were just like were swinging a lot of heavy punching. Yeah,
and he's just longer, so he'd just beat him with a jab, and then hit him with an over. It was just.
A lot of heavyweight fights, all they do is hug and you know, kind of push up on each other, and then it's like they break apart, and it's like, a couple hits, and then it's back, dance, hug, you know, swing.
That's why I enjoy watching the smaller guys the last couple of years because
absolutely,
more
it's usually it's usually the better fights. But for this, I mean, you know, Wilder got hit with 58 power punches. Like, there was hits. Like, he was getting hit, and he had a couple moments where it was like, damn, this guy should be down, but he's actually still coming back. And the thing about Wilder is, he only needs one. Like, but he's also got even Teddy Atlas was like, he's not a good fighter. Like, sorry. Like, he's not a boxer. He's just a puncher. And, that was the thing about Tyson. That Tyson had both. Mike Tyson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you took Tyson past, like, the third.
Right, but who did that? Not that many people, right? I mean, not till later. So, right. I don't know. So, anyway, this, a little off topic, but that's what we do. We bring it off topic. Exactly. So that's it,
Tyson came up, though. There wasn't much going on. Like, he fought, like, an Leon old Spinks. Ass, like, wheeled down
Spinks,
to the...
who took the title from Muhammad Ali.
You just proved my point. Old ass Leon Spinks, and then Larry Holmes. Like, they were like a shell of themselves when Tyson got involved.
Yeah, but those fights were still exciting, and he was still exciting.
Oh yeah, if you like knockouts, man. I liked the Iron Mike back in the day, but I'm just saying that it's not like his vision was...
But that's what Wilder's been doing. I mean, he had 41 knockouts. Like,
yep.
So, I think that's what's cool about boxing is different styles go up against each other, and you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, people...
That's why we like football. It's the same reason you like football. It's the same reason some people like basketball.
Right. Well, I think that's one of the worst things about basketball right now is that they're all trying to play the same style. Like, that's why I thought it was, we talked about it the other day. It's cool that the Rockets are trying a different style, because that's, you want to see, like, you have a signature style that goes after it. That's what we do. We bring that style, you know what I mean? And if it doesn't work out, you buy 157 pounds of weed and you try to,
yeah, that's just dumb,
it's
dude.
Like 4 of your kids, man.
Shout out to Sam Hurd.
Cocaine.
Greg Robinson, currently making a ton of money as an NFL player, decided he needed to push some serious weight personally.
You could open a dispensary in a legal area.
It was like, they're saying it was like $800,000
to move that dope. Do you move that dope?
You don't even get the good stuff in Brit. Well, whatever. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm just saying, Brit.
What are we getting into?
That ain't good shit.
Yeah, shout out to that guy. What a fool.
Send out surgery.
Yeah. Shout out to Sam Hurd. Shout out to pushing weight. Good job. You really did something.
Like, you really need that, like, weed money when you're making millions and millions in the NFL.
We talked about this in the chat. It's like, do you think that their livelihoods just kind of follow them? It's like, do you really escape the person that you always were? I mean, money just makes it worse.
You gotta be smarter than that, though, man.
No,
you really don't. You can get rich and be a kid and make stupid kid decisions.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that around the game and around all sports, there's that element, and it's never really that far away. You
have to be the guy driving the truck, though.
But this is you don't have. That's the stupidest part. You don't have, like,
Uber shit.
You're gonna get involved in that, but you don't need to be the wheelman yourself. Like, But at the end of the day, that's the reason you do that is because you don't trust anybody.
He wasn't the only NFL. There was an ex-NFL player in there with him.
Yeah.
He was talking about.
Who even knows who that was? But I mean, what a moron! Like, I mean, just
maybe they got excited about the new CBA rules and like, dude, let's go.
Yeah, right. They thought the CBD agreement was getting signed. So
they're anyway, trying to deliver it to Gardner.
It's ridiculous. It's cannabis.
Yeah,
the whole shipment was from Minshew's party wagon.
Fuck yeah.
It was on the Caravan.
Your next Bears quarterback.
Jesus. Well, that's it, boys. Another episode of a Tailgate Show. Follow us on Twitter, AARONTOR for myself, AA, BQuinn34 for Brian, B Diddy Quinn, and AirJair54 on Twitter for Jeremy Kramer, a.k.a. the Ginger Unicorn. R.I.P. to the Prince and the Pony. And it's just another episode on the Brawl Network of the Tailgate Show.
The Bears.
The wait.
The Battlehawks.
The Battlehawks.
No, don't do that. That's just disrespect.
The
Check out that XFL, bro.
Extreme.